Good morning, everyone. This meeting is called to order. This is the special called City Council meeting for Thursday, June 20th, 2024, 10 a.m. I'll do roll call at this time. Vice Mayor Johnson, Councilman Carroll,
Present.
Councilwoman Bell, Councilwoman Hood,
Present.
and Councilman Perkins.
Present.
And I will recognize our interim city manager, Tammy Sadler-Jones, at this time. There are no changes to the agenda. We don't have any public comments or the public comment policy. And then we'll move into new business, which is the presentation of proposed 2024 millage rate with our interim city manager, Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. We are here today for our first of 3 public hearings in regards to the fiscal year 2024 tax millage rate. It's being presented today by myself and our finance director, Dan Defnall. As I mentioned, this is the first of 3 meetings. We are in the Women's Club. And this evening's meeting at 6:30 will also be in the Women's Club. And then on June the 27th at 6:30 p.m., we will do the third and final millage rate public hearing, and the adoption is scheduled for that day as well. And that meeting will be held in the City Council chambers. If you'll go to the slide number 3. So I want to begin today with Property Tax 101 and what is the millage rate and the homestead exemption. The millage rate is the tax rate that is applied to the assessed value of taxable property to calculate the amount of property to be paid. The millage rate is usually stated as dollars per thousand. For example, if a millage rate of 1 meal is $1 per thousand of assessed value. For calculation purposes, the millage rate is stated as 0.001. Homestead exemption, a legal provision that helps reduce the amount of property taxes owed on owner-occupied homes. Exemptions are established by state law and voted upon by the citizens in a given city, county, or school district. Homestead exemption is one of the local exemptions currently offered by the City of Clarkston to the City of Clarkston residents, and we'll go into how a exemption is applied for and how you qualify. Next slide. To qualify for an exemption, you have to own, occupy, and claim the property as your legal residence on January 1st of the year in which you first qualify for the exemptions. The person applying for the homestead exemption must be listed on the deed, and you must continue to own and live in the home as your primary residence as long as you claim the exemption. And of course, there are specific things you have to do to qualify. Next slide. How to apply for the exemption. If you do not already have a basic homestead exemption, you must have applied to receive the benefit by the deadline, which was April 1st, 2024. All homestead exemption filings are applied for directly with DeKalb County Board of Assessors Office by mail, in person, or online. For filings, please call 404-298-4000 for the DeKalb property tax information. We also included, for the benefit of the public, the location of the office, which is at 4380 Memorial Drive, Suite 100 in Decatur, Georgia, 30032, and they are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Online, you can go to decabtax.org, and we also included the online website for information about the homestead exemptions. So we encourage you to seek out that information if you are interested. Next slide, please. Things you need to know. While all homeowners in the city of Clarkston may qualify for a basic homestead exemption, different exemptions may also apply to property taxes for DeKalb County and DeKalb County School District. There are many different exemptions available to seniors and people with full medical disabilities. Disability exemptions are also available for veterans and their surviving spouses. Exemptions are also available for surviving spouses of peace officers, firefighters killed in the line of duty, and many special exemptions have requirements for age and income. And again, we provided the information for the DeKalb County Tax Commissioner's Office for residents to seek out if they are interested. And the phone number is 404-298-4000. Next slide. How does the homestead exemption reduce property taxes? Each property is appraised at fair market value. The property is then taxed at 40% of the fair market value, which equals the assessed value. And the fair market value is the current estimated amount the property can be bought or sold. Assessed value, as I mentioned, is 40% of the market value and is used as the basis for calculating the property tax levy or bill in the state of Georgia. The homestead exemption amount is then deducted from the assessed value, which equals the taxable value. The tax amounts are calculated using the city, school, and county millage rate times that taxable value. Next slide.
Next, we'll talk about the rollback rate. The rollback rate is the millage rate that would raise the same amount of tax revenue as last year if applied to the current value of the property that was on last year's tax digest. Our rollback rate for this year is 12.454%. Our recommended millage rate is to continue at 13.89%. And you can see there the rollback value. At the rollback rate, we would generate $4,879,000 in revenue at the recommended 13.8, which is the existing millage rate for 2023, would raise $5,441,000. Next slide. Our current millage rate for 2023 was 13.89, and we're 13.89, and we're recommending the same millage rate for 2024. Next slide. Estimated Clarkston property taxes. I just want to state your property tax bill includes your county taxes, your school taxes, as well as your Clarkston taxes. So we're talking here of just the Clarkston tax value. So for a $100,000 in valuation, your 40% assessed value would be $40,000 would be your taxable rate, and the millage rate at 13.89 mills, the total Clarkston property taxes on your tax bill would equal $555,060. $555.60. Next slide.
So as mentioned, the recommendation by city leadership, that includes the city manager's office and the finance director, we are not recommending a millage rate increase in the city of Clarkston. We're recommending that the tax rate be the same for 2024 as it was in 2023. And the millage rate is established by the levying authority each year, which of course is the city council. Next slide. The reason for the recommendation, adopting an operating and capital budget for a municipality is a very complex and layered task. The city manager's office and the finance office, we analyze personnel and other expenditure requests submitted from departments. Our projected revenues must balance with our projected expenditures. It is a balancing act between the desired service levels and the cost of those service levels. With the revenue projections and expenditures for fiscal year 2024 budget that has been approved, we are recommending maintaining the current millage rate of 13.89. Next slide.
I just want to bring to your attention the impact that we have had over the last few years of tax adjustments after the digest is finalized each year. So I ran the numbers for the 2023 digest. We don't normally receive the full amount that we expect when the assessments go out because adjustments that happen during the year. In 2023, our original projected revenue from our assessments was $4,849,000. Our actual assessments equated to $4,640,000. So there was about a $200,000 reduction in the assessments before when they were finalized. And then we had almost $744,000 in tax adjustments that reduced our actual revenue to just under $3.9 million. So we only collected about 81% of the projected property tax revenue last year. And I'll also draw your attention to this spreadsheet that's in the agenda summary sheet. That's the analysis I do when we get the assessment. And I just want to point out, our overall digest for 2024 increased by 12.22%. And as far as residential, it only increased 3.92%. The biggest part of our increase was a 21.16% increase in the commercial digest. And then the next page shows our 5-year history of assessments. And we're required to publish this in our ads for the millage rate.
All right. Next slide. If there are any questions, we will address those at that time. And then also, Mayor, this is a public hearing, so
Right.
Thank you.
And Councilman Carroll.
So I have a question. So you said there was a 12% increase in the tax digest from last year. What was the projected increase that we considered when we were budgeting for the 2024 cycle?
We didn't have a specific percentage that we projected.
Well, did we have a
We
number?
projected
of
based on our revenue projections to balance our budget.
So what was the number that we predicted we would need in order to balance the budget when we budgeted for the 2024 cycle?
Well, the revenue we projected on this analysis sheet was $5,768,174.
And so, I'm sorry, 5 million set. So then, but then the actual budget here is 5,441,000.
That's the anticipated revenue based on the preliminary digest.
Right. And so is that 300,000 less than what we projected, or is that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it is slightly less than we projected.
And that's without any appeals or anything that may ultimately reduce that number like it did last year?
Correct.
And Mr. Defno, where did most of the reductions come from that you had?
I'm assuming they're in commercial properties that,
Okay, okay, more like our apartment complexes or things
right,
like?
yeah,
Okay,
some of the commercial properties.
okay. Any other questions from the council? Councilwoman Bell?
Yeah, thank you. So my only question is, I see where we got our reductions from based off I anticipated, but the millage rate is recommended that it stays the same. Is there any reason as to why wasn't no increase, even though we were in the negative based off of the commercials that impacted the revenue we received? My question is, there is no recommendation to increase the millage rate, right?
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay, so, but looking at the budget from last year, that was a deficit because of unanticipated reduction in tax revenue that we received coming from commercial. As I'm hearing it, it seems like it came from the apartment complex. So is there a reason or rationale that you can give us as to why y'all didn't recommend an increase in the millage?
Well, we're hopeful we don't have that many adjustments in this year's digest, but
Okay.
and we can possibly make up that difference, hopefully in increases in other sources of revenue this year.
Okay.
Any other questions for the council? Councilman Perkins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the 2024 budget that we have on our sheet here reflect the total cost of the new city admin space as well, or is that separate?
No, not all of it.
Okay.
The original amounts that we budgeted in 2024.
Okay, so it's the original
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, we-
adjusted. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. With no other questions from the council, I will close in terms of the presentation and now move to 4B, which is to open for the public hearing. At the public hearing is a time for residents if they would like to speak on this matter. So at this time, I open it up for anyone from the public to speak on this proposed 2024 millage rate. I will open it up for the public to speak about this millage rate once, millage rate twice, millage rate 3 times. And with that, and having no one to speak on this item, the public hearing is closed. On this, now we'll move to item 5, which is the adjournment. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Madam Mayor, I have a motion.
Yes, sir.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, it's been properly moved.
Second.
Well, we got extra seconds over everything, so it's been properly moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed, meeting is adjourned. See you tonight at 6:30 in the Women's Club again.
I forgot